You're not lazy. You're addicted to the feeling of almost starting. You've watched the videos, you've read the quotes, you've made the plans, set the alarms, written the goals in the notebook with the nice cover, and then nothing changed. Not because you didn't know what to do, but because you were waiting to feel ready. You were waiting to feel motivated, and that feeling never showed up when you needed it. It showed up on Sunday night when the week was over. It showed up at 11 p.m. when it was too late to do anything, and the moment Monday came, it was gone. That's not a motivation problem. That's a discipline problem. And the difference between those two things is the difference between the life you have and the life you keep imagining. Motivation is a visitor. It comes when it wants to, stays for a few hours, and disappears without warning. It doesn't call ahead. It doesn't wait for you. You can't schedule it, you can't force it. And building your life around it is like building a house on sand and wondering why nothing ever stands. Discipline is something completely different. Discipline doesn't care how you feel. Discipline doesn't ask whether you slept well, whether you're inspired, whether the timing is right. Discipline is the decision you made yesterday being honored by the version of you who doesn't feel like it today. And that version, the one who shows up anyway, that is who you actually become over time. Here's what you don't want to hear. Most of the time you spend consuming content about changing your life is actually just a more comfortable substitute for changing your life. Every video you watch about discipline is a minute you didn't spend practicing it. Every article you read about success is a moment you weren't working toward it. You're not building anything. You're collecting the feeling of building, and those two things are not the same. Think about yesterday. Really think about it. What did you do with the first hour after you woke up? Did you reach for your phone before your feet touched the floor? Did you scroll through other people's lives while yours waited? Did you eat something that made you feel heavy, sit somewhere comfortable and let the hours disappear? You weren't resting, you weren't recovering, you were avoiding. And you knew it. That quiet feeling underneath everything, that low hum of guilt that follows you through the day, that's you knowing. You know what you should be doing. You've always known. The problem isn't information. The problem is execution. And execution requires discomfort. That's the part nobody wants to accept. Real progress lives on the other side of resistance. Not sometimes, always. Every single time you grow, something has to be given up. Comfort has to be surrendered. The version of you that wants to sleep in has to be overruled by the version of you that wants more. The version that wants to avoid the hard conversation has to be pushed aside by the version that knows silence is making things worse. You cannot grow and stay comfortable at the same time. That is not how any of this works. The people you admire, the ones who seem to have their lives together, who move with purpose, who are building something, do you think they feel motivated every day? They don't. They wake up tired, they have bad weeks, they face doubt and fear and the same inner voice that tells you to wait. The difference is they don't negotiate with that voice. They don't bargain or explain or promise to do it tomorrow. They put on their shoes and they start. Not because it feels good, because they decided a long time ago that how they feel in the moment cannot be allowed to determine what they do with their life. You have to make that same decision. Not tomorrow, not after you finish this video, now. Inside you, right now as you listen to this, because the version of you that keeps waiting for motivation is costing you something you cannot get back. Time is leaving every single day. And the gap between where you are and where you want to be doesn't close by itself. It closes through action. Daily, unglamorous, often thankless action. Here's what discipline actually looks like. It doesn't look dramatic. It doesn't look like a movie montage. It looks like going to bed on time when everyone else is still online. It looks like starting the work before you feel ready. It looks like keeping a promise to yourself even when no one is watching and nothing is on the line except your own integrity. That's it. That's the whole secret. small acts of self-honoring repeated until they become who you are. Identity, that's what's really at stake here. Right now, somewhere deep in the way you see yourself, you have a story about what kind of person you are, whether you're someone who finishes things or someone who starts them, whether you're the kind of person who can be trusted by yourself to follow through. That story was written by your past behavior, but it is being rewritten right now by every choice you make. Every time you do the hard thing, you add a line to a different story, a story about someone who shows up, someone who does the work, someone who doesn't need the world to applaud them before they begin. You want your life to change? Change the story. Not with an announcement, not with a vision board, with behavior. Today, one act of discipline that you didn't want to do, one commitment honored when it would have been easier to break it. That's the proof. Not the idea of discipline, the practice of it. The fear is real, acknowledge it. The fear that you'll try and still fail. The fear that you'll sacrifice comfort and it won't be worth it. The fear that it's too late, that you've wasted too much time, that people like you don't get the life you want. That fear is loud, but it is not the truth. It is a defense mechanism dressed up as wisdom. Your comfort zone has been using fear as a security guard, keeping you in a room that is safe but small, and you have been listening to that guard for years. Stop listening, not because the fear disappears, but because you stop letting it lead. You feel the resistance and you move anyway. That is what courage looks like in real life, not the absence of fear, the decision to act in spite of it. Every day, in small ways, you can practice that, and every time you do, the fear gets a little smaller and you get a little larger. So here is where we arrive. The proof that discipline beats motivation is not a theory. It's in the person who went to the gym for a year even on the days they didn't want to. It's in the person who wrote every day even when the words were bad. It's in the person who built the business in the early mornings and the late nights before anyone believed in them. Motivation did not build those lives. Discipline did. One decision at a time, one kept promise at a time. You know what needs to change. You've known for a long time. The question was never what. The question was whether you were willing to stop waiting for the right feeling and simply begin. Stop waiting. The version of you that you're capable of becoming is not waiting for you to feel motivated. It is waiting for you to decide. To really decide. Not the kind where you feel a rush of energy and make a list, the kind where something shifts quietly in your chest and you understand, finally, seriously, without the need for another video or another quote, that the only way forward is through. Through the discomfort, through the resistance, through the days when nothing seems to be working and it feels pointless and the old version of you whispers to just stop. Don't stop. That's the whole message. That's the proof. The people who have what you want didn't feel better than you. They just stopped stopping. Now it's your turn.